let me ask you something. What if the biggest threat to a free press wasn't a government censor, but the very technology it relies on every single day? Today, we're diving into the hidden geopolitical dangers facing U.S. broadcasters as they move their operations into the public cloud. It's a move that promises convenience, but it might come at the cost of control. And just so you know, this is the first part of a 5-part series where we're going to get really deep into this whole issue. So for today, we're going to start by laying the groundwork, and we're going to do that by asking one fundamental question. When a broadcaster moves from their own physical servers to the public cloud, it seems like just a simple tech upgrade, right? But what they're really giving up is control. And this isn't just about efficiency. It is a fundamental trade-off with some serious implications. So let's start with how we got here. Broadcasting's migration to the cloud has been so complete that it's basically become the new backbone of the entire industry. I mean, the dependency is just staggering. We are talking about all the core operations, from content storage and live streaming to all the back-end processing. It's all running on platforms from a few US-based giants. You know the ones. The hyperscalers like Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. The whole era of broadcasters physically owning their own hardware, well, that's fading fast. And this is where that technological shift runs headfirst into a new geopolitical reality. See, these US-based cloud providers, they aren't just neutral tech companies. In many ways, they've become instruments of national power, and that means they're tangled up in global politics. And because these cloud giants are American, their services are subject to U.S. foreign policy, things like sanctions, trade disputes, you name it. This means the very infrastructure a broadcaster depends on to get the news out can be disrupted or maybe even weaponized as a tool of the state. Now, this is not theoretical. Not at all. A real-world example from October 2025 shows just how fragile this setup can be. A major AWS outage in Virginia took down countless services, and that included critical media outlets. It was a perfect and kind of scary demonstration of the danger of concentrating so much essential infrastructure in just a handful of physical locations. That risk of concentration brings us to the cloud's core physical weakness. Now, it might feel abstract, this idea of the cloud, but the problem is very, very tangible. This quote just cuts right through all the marketing jargon, doesn't it? Despite the name, the cloud isn't some magical thing floating in the sky. It's a massive network of profoundly physical assets, and that makes it vulnerable in the real world. And these physical assets? Well, they rely on a remarkably fragile global supply chain. Just think about it for a second. You've got data centers that need rare earth minerals. They require massive amounts of power and cooling, making them vulnerable to grid failures. They're all connected by thousands of miles of undersea cables that can be cut. And the specialized computer chips at the heart of it all, they're smack in the middle of global trade wars. But the physical risks are really just one piece of the puzzle. The deeper, more insidious risk lies in the legal levers the U.S. government can pull, and these are levers that can directly challenge the First Amendment protections that broadcasters have always relied on. The first big lever is something called the Cloud Act. Put simply, this law gives U.S. authorities the power to compel cloud providers to turn over data. And here's the key part, it doesn't matter where on the planet that data is actually stored. This extraterritorial reach is the crucial point. It means a broadcaster's sensitive data, we're talking everything from internal memos to investigative journalism files, is never truly out of reach of a government demand. This completely undermines their ability to protect their work and, just as importantly, their sources. And this legal reach, it extends to the human element too. The cloud provider's own staff, the engineers with privileged access, the people with the keys to the kingdom, they can be legally compelled to access a broadcaster's systems, modify their content, or even disrupt their service, all without the broadcaster ever knowing it's happening. And this is often done under a thick veil of secrecy. You have courts operating under the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, or FISA, that issue secret orders. You have national security letters that can demand action and include a gag order, making it illegal for the cloud provider to even tell their customer, the broadcaster, what's going on. This is how a broadcaster's operations could be compromised or shut down, maybe even in retaliation for their reporting, without any public process whatsoever. So this all leads to a really unsettling question for any broadcaster who's moved to the cloud. Who is really in control? Is it you, or is it a third party that, at the end of the day, has to answer to the government? Okay, so let's pull all of this together. What does this new risk profile actually look like for the broadcasting industry? Let's get to the key takeaways. It really boils down to these three layers. First, you have the physical dependencies. Your whole operation is sitting on top of a fragile global supply chain. Second, you've got the legal vulnerabilities, thanks to laws like the Cloud Act and FISA that allow for secret government access and control. And third, you've got the administrative risks, where the cloud provider's own staff can become instruments of government action against a broadcaster's interests. It's a triple threat. So for any broadcaster trying to operate in this volatile world, it leaves us with one critical question. Is the cloud a tool for freedom and efficiency? Or, given all these hidden levers of control, has it actually become a leash?